Hi, everybody. Hello, my kids. I miss you so much. I wish I was with you right now. But as you can see, I'm in the art room by myself, so I don't have my mask on. And I wanted to walk through with you your first project. But before we do that, I just wanted to say hello, and I wanted to tell you that I miss you all so much. I have some exciting news from the Lerno house. We had a litter of French Bulldog puppies this spring. So while we were doing our virtual learning, I was busy feeding puppies with a baby bottle and taking care of them. We had 9 puppies, of which I kept 2 puppies. One is actually supposed to be going to live with my mom and dad. I was going to potty train her for them. And so right now I have 2 little girls at home, and I can't even tell you how much I love them. I'm going to tell you all about them throughout the school year. My little girl, her name is Junebug, and my mom's little girl's name is Zola. So many adventures with Junebug and Zola this summer, and I hope that you had something in your summer that went well or that you enjoyed. I know it's been very different this year, and I just can't wait to see you in person. So one of the things that I wanted to share with you was one of my very first outings as a family. We tried to stay in our house as much as we could, like many of you. But one of the things that we did do as a family this summer was we had a little graduation ceremony for my daughter, who was supposed to be graduating from high school. So in our district, which is Oak Grove, where my kids go, the seniors didn't get to have an actual graduation. They had a drive-through. So we were in our cars and we were driving to the front of the high school, where then she got out of the car, went over, they said her name, they had a little stage set up, and she walked across the stage and we got to take pictures from our car, and that was it. So after that, it felt really bad not to do something. So we had heard that over in Lone Jack, a new Mexican restaurant had opened by one of the men who was at our restaurant that we liked so much. Anyway, that's too many details for you. But we went to this restaurant because they had a big, huge patio, and we were able to sit on the patio and have a dinner as a family to celebrate Kaylee's graduation. And we felt pretty good about that because we were outside and everything. It was kind of a really special moment for us. And one of the things I remember looking at and I've noticed them before, and I'm hoping you've noticed them too, but they have these flags that they fly, and they're always in Mexican restaurants, and I've seen them in Mexico myself. And so I began thinking about these, and they actually have a name. So they are called Picado. I don't know if I said that correctly, guys. But basically it means pecked paper, or paper that has been perforated with holes in it. So I went online and I did a quick Google search for Mexican paper flags, and this is what it showed me. And they are just so cool. So what I thought we could do as our first project is make just one paper flag that represents you. So this is kind of a get to know you activity, but it's also has that Mexican heritage piece, and I'm really excited about it. So you do need some supplies. You need something to draw with, like a pencil. You need something to color with, and I'll talk probably crayons or markers. And then you need some paper. So I know that not everybody has the same stuff laying around. So I'm going to kind of show you two different things. So here I have some aqua colored paper. I just picked something that a color that I liked. And this is just a half of one of the big sheets that we normally use. And then this is just a piece of free draw paper that I grabbed out of the basket. So you can use something at home that's white, that has something on the other side. It doesn't really matter. But first, before you begin, you need to do some thinking about you. What kind of an image could you use that would represent you? Something you love, something you do. I'm thinking of sports. I'm thinking of things in nature. And so for me personally, I love the water. We have a place at Lake Pomme de Terre, and I love being in the boat. I love being on the water. So I was thinking of an anchor and some waves. So I just quickly went onto Google. I typed in these things so I could give myself a visual, because sometimes if I think about an anchor, I might not come up with that perfect shape. So I just went and I printed mine out so you could see it. You don't have to do that. You can just look it up and then kind of toggle back and forth as you're trying to draw. So here's what I'm going to do. I want to show you that in this piece, most of these are hanging side to side. So when we look at our pieces, whichever piece you're going with, we're going to design it in a side to side manner. Now I said something to color with. If you're choosing colored paper already, crayons, and I just grabbed some out of a bin, crayons don't always show up as well as markers on our colored construction paper. If you're using white paper, doesn't matter. You can use pretty much anything you want to color with this. But if you're using the colored paper, markers typically work best. So I'm going to kind of do a little of both to get started. So when I'm working on the project, I am going to tilt my screen down so that you can see my screen. I have a pencil that I'm going to start with, and I'm just going to start with a quick sketch. Hopefully, I'm going to push down hard, so hopefully you can see what I'm doing. You won't be pushing down super hard. So for my quick sketch, I always kind of try to start with some basic shapes. So I'm going to put a nice big anchor in the middle. So I know that it had kind of, this kind of a shape to it. It had a circle at the top, it had a rectangle, and then from there, these other pieces kind of came out, and it had triangle pieces on the end. So just a quick sketch. And now, as I said, if I were doing this just for myself, I would be sketching much lighter. And then there's a rectangle that comes out like this. Okay, so I've got my basic shape now. So now I'm going to switch to my color. And so I'm going to grab a blue, and I'm just going to outline what I did. And this is where I can be a little bit more picky about how I make it. My first one was kind of just a rough sketch. Well, this time I can, be a little bit more precise. I can tell that I had that triangle piece much higher on one side than the other, so I can kind of switch it. I don't have to stay on my sketch lines. I can kind of make my own. I'm going to bring this down to kind of like a little point. So it's not perfect, but it's good enough. I just try to get it to where I like it, because art is all about you liking it. Your art that you create is generally always for you. Okay, I know that I did that all upside down. But I'm working with what I've got here. So right now I have my anchor. Now in the actual pieces, which remember are called Picado, and I could be saying that totally wrong, but they actually take scissors or knives and they cut out the little pieces. We are not going to be doing that. We are going to be drawing shapes that kind of mimic the cutout piece. So when I look at these, like let's say I look at this particular group, I notice that it's very symmetrical. Symmetrical means that when you do something to one side, you do it to the other so that it's balanced perfectly. So I'm going to come back. I'm going to switch colors. I'm going to grab a green this time. And I'm going to just start drawing some shapes. Because these are just shapes, I should be able to leave my picture this way. So I'm going to draw this little half dome shape. And whatever I do on this side, I'm going to come over here. And I'm going to balance it out. And then I'm going to do a couple circles. And then up here, I might do kind of a moon shape. Now these shapes aren't necessarily going to tell my viewer a ton about me, but they could. If you have certain shapes that are going to talk or represent something about you to your viewer. These are just little petal shapes. Anyway, I kind of lost what I was saying there. If your viewer can tell more about you from the shapes that you chose, then that's pretty cool. But it doesn't have to be. It could just be as simple as thinking about shapes and doing those on each side. So I'm going to do a bigger one here in the middle. I keep looking over here. You don't see my head moving, but I want to keep it the same, which is perfectly symmetrical. You have the same thing on both sides. So you continue filling this in with pattern. But down here at the bottom, you're going to kind of ignore that space because the bottoms of these pieces are often cut in a shape, and we can do that. So I'm going to take, I'll choose a crayon, and I am going to do a shape that I showed you earlier, reminded me kind of water waves. So I'm going to do this kind of a shape right along the bottom of my flag, and then I'm going to cut that out. So I'm going to do 2 on that side. I kind of want them to be even. Are they going to be perfect? No. So I did 2 over here and 2 over here, and now I'm just going to make sure this last one comes across and meets. But that's how I tried to keep it even. It's not going to be perfect. None of us are perfect, so you know it's perfectly imperfect. Now I would take my scissors, I would cut along and get rid of that piece, and eventually I would have a flag that represents me. So hopefully through this project you are able to create something that you like, because art is for you. All right, whatever you make is just for you. And hopefully then when you're able to share this with us as a class, you will do a little video recording, and I'll leave instructions for all of that. And you can tell us why your flag represents you. What symbols did you choose? I chose an anchor, and I chose water because having a lake house and being on the water is very important to me. I feel the most calm when I'm on the water. It's so much fun. We spend a lot of family time in the boat, and we go fishing, and sometimes the kids do, you know, water sports, and it's a great time. It means a lot to me in my life. So this is how you do your project, and I hope that your Picado is amazing just like you are. Bye, guys.